What God cannot do does not exist. It's not the truth.
What God cannot do does not exist. Before we get on to why this is now something that everybody is talking about, let's start with maybe how it really got started, right? So back in 2020, when NSPPD went viral, it was during COVID era. The phrase "what God cannot do does not exist" just went very popular. Basically, in a way of stressing the fact that with God all things are possible, right? That's where the phrase came in from. But it went so popular, and because that was when NSPPD also started gaining virality. Yeah. As a matter of fact, and back in 2021, Dr. Abel Damina and some other people had actually come out to say, no, that is not absolute. That's not actually correct. I'm going to play you a short clip from my show, my new show, the Tolerated Show. The first episode, we talked about online prayers, and I actually did talk about this, taking us back to this moment in 2021 when this criticism first surfaced. So yeah, let's check this out first.
Many people who had spoken out against NSPPD have done so for other reasons. Like I said, for example, the contextual interpretation of the slogan, "What God cannot do does not exist." Not necessarily because of the virality or the success of the online platform, like Nathaniel Bassey had to go through in 2017. Now, one of such is senior pastor of Power City International Church, Abel Damina, who interpreted the phrase denotatively, thereby saying there are certain things that God cannot do. He cannot lie, he cannot steal, he cannot cheat, and many more.
Because it sounds popular. What God cannot do does not exist. God cannot lie, and lie exists. God cannot steal, and stealing exists. God cannot die, and death exists. Don't copy cliches. Follow doctrine. Don't follow cliches by motivational speakers. Follow sound teaching, so you can have a sound life.
However, Jerry Eze responded saying the phrase was deduced from the angel's response in Luke chapter 1 verse 37. For with God, nothing shall be impossible. So it's more connotative, right? Anyway, let's get back to the point.
That was from 2021-ish, thereabout, right? So now it has resurfaced. Why? Because Abel Damina goes on the Honest Bunch podcast and he says a lot of things. And I'm going to tell you, to be quite honest, there's certain area. Oh, wait, before I share my take on that. All right. So he went on the Honest Bunch podcast and said a lot. I'm just going to play you that.
When I started ministry, BMA had not become born again. He had not been born again when I started. He was still in Sele. What God cannot do does not exist. It's not the truth. People think I'm jealous of Jerry Eze. Jerry Eze is by far my... It's not about sentiment. It's about knowing what the truth is. I believe in miracles. I believe in healing. But not this RNG that we're seeing today.
Are you saying the miracles are RNG?
Can't you see most of those crutches are all the same color? They're all brand new. In what world will people come for a crusade and all of them are carrying the same brand of crutches? Why are you asking for tithe? If you read the book of Acts, nobody paid tithe to anybody. Jesus didn't pay tithe. Jesus didn't receive tithe. All the disciples of Jesus had professions. So all of this idea that because God has called you, you must resign your job. I don't know where they're bringing it from because it's not Bible. That I was a master in that gospel. Some of them is my template they're using.
Yes, because there are videos of you saying that if you don't pay your tithes, divorce will come for you.
I was Baba.
So when did this change? Did your format cast?
It was a gospel that started by saying men of God should not be poor because God is not poor. And it started making sense. And then we started seeing some men of God raising money and living better. So we also wanted to live better.
There's a lot of things that he said in that podcast. We are not going to address all of that today, but there's a lot. There's a lot. But let's still just focus on the what God cannot do does not exist, because then again, we're like, oh, we're back to this matter again. Yeah. And so the conversation goes on and on and on. And Kanyinsola is going to share a take on that. But then he talked about the... He talked about the what you might call it now, the miracles from the NSPPD UK conference that went down at Twickenham, which we talked about on the show as well. And then that reminded me of something. I'm going to play you one more clip, right? This clip is by... Okay. Yeah. You know what?
As I speak to you
check it
now,
out.
there are 2 Jeremiah trending in Nigeria. I can't even lie. You can make a research if you want to. One is going to court as we speak. The other one is coming back from the UK. Oh, he's back already. One is selling soap and water for healing. The other one is selling out stadium. One is suing somebody for 1 billion for the Lord. The other one is spending 1 billion to gather people for the Lord. Now somebody is asking, what are you even talking about? This is the Jeremiah gang. I don't know if I'm shouting, sir. This past week here, one of the Jerry healed the sick, and everyone present here was filled with the Spirit. Meanwhile, the other one there is selling soap, selling oil, selling water. I be Jeremiah. He said, "You didn't get it, sir." Now, this Jerry I'm talking about, not this Jerry. I mean the very dark man. I don't know if I'm shouting, sir. But holy right there, holy right there, holy right there. When they posted these videos, especially the one of Pastor Jerry Eze, where he healed that girl that was crippled and then she began to walk, I saw all of you's comments, all of you laughing, saying, "Fake man of God, he's a this." I just laughed. Some of you even said, "Why no go heal like you fella? Why be saying that all these ones see they heal?" I just laugh. But let's not forget, sir, some of us grew up in real Christian background and we saw real practical science, real healing. Some of you even happened to you, now you they heal. Some way your head, now they heal. At least you know somebody that it happened to. So you can't say it was stage managed because you saw these ones. But now, because it is popular to abuse pastors, we always jump to the comment section to tell them that they are fake. I'm not paying though, to be honest. But when I saw comments, I saw people that I know. I saw Philip. Philip, that when we were growing up, Philip was deaf. He was in church service that they healed Philip. Philip began to hear. Philip, you said they laugh. Wah, 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 wah. Nigeria and a religious camp go finish you now. Philip, you. I even saw Miracle. Miracle, they comment. Miracle, you. Miracle, let me even tell you the whole world your gist. Miracle went to match poison. In Aram mad. They brought Miracle to Miracle. Swear say not be Miracle make you start church. Swear say not be Miracle make you start church. Miracle. Miracle will be saying a Miracle make and start church. Miracle they comment section they criticize Miracle. Miracle don't they tire Miracle. I don't know if I'm shouting, sir. Everybody they talk, Miracle self they talk. To be honest, I don't really blame you. Now because we don't really see too many Jeremiah these days. So to know the real Jerry itself, we go to say exactly. But then again, calm down. Calm down. But then again, Miracle you.
Okay, now that was very hilarious. Yeah. I just decided to just play that. Davidsyn, you're wrong for that. You're so wrong for that. But anyway, you get the point. But he well, you were shouting on that one, Davidsyn. However, he made some valid points. He made some valid points. Imagine Miracle will be saying life now Miracle. Now Miracle make it take the way they like this. And I ain't say they criticize Miracle. Anyway, but that aside's the point. Let's zoom in on the what God cannot do does not exist part. Yeah. Because for some reason that's just become a really big deal. I saw a tweet by Pastor Iran, you know, in cap locks, was literally shouting what God cannot do does not exist like 5 times. Pastor Jerry Eze did about the same thing, just what God cannot do does not exist. Like you can tell that, say, I'm not responding to you, but I'm letting you know that it is what it is, And just like Kanyinsola mentioned right now, we've had other people. We have, let me just read this one. I think you mentioned Nosa this morning, yeah? You did?
Yeah,
Yes, you did. It was this one you did. Where is that? I can't even find it. But anyway, Nosa says, I can't find it. Where is it? I thought I saw it somewhere close. Anyway, Nosa says, you got it? Okay, no, I'll find it. Okay, yeah. He says, for with God, nothing is or ever shall be impossible. Luke chapter 1, verse 37, amplified version, just like I quoted in the tolerated clip that I played at the start. Yeah. In other words, it continues, what God cannot do does not exist. Context is key. Hashtag Jesus only. And he shares that with the caption, I'm on the Lord's side. What does that mean? Okay, he goes on with another post to say, whose side are you on? I'm on the Lord's side. I'm on the side of Christ. I'm on the side of the truth. I'm on the side of love. I'm on the Lord's side. You better be as well. What do you think he's trying to say with that? I'm on the Lord's side.
I think it's clear, right? I have many things to say. Whereas I was just whilst we're watching, so I couldn't even see every video. Thank God I'd watched the honest SpongeBob from my end.
Okay.
Yes, and so I was just I was asking God to help me. I was asking the Spirit of God to help me, right? Because this is a very this is a big issue, right? Whilst I was going through that scripture, Luke 1, 37 to 35 to 37. I have it. Luke 1, 37 to 45. Yes. So Luke 1 generally, you would read it, and it talks about the birth of John. It talks about the birth of Jesus also. And the angel is the one telling Mary here. This is when the angel comes to give the good news and tell her that she'd give birth to Jesus. And now this particular 37 saying that for with God nothing is ever impossible, right? And no word from God shall be without power or impossible of fulfillment. So you can see that in the context, the angel brought the good news. Right, and it is not anything associated with evil or bad or anything like that. And so if NSPPD's tagline, what God cannot do, is birthed from that verse, you can tell that they are referring to God as a good father, as a good God, associated with miracles, associated with signs and wonders that comes alone from him, right? That's the first thing I would say. Also, another thing I always quote, I've been saying this a lot of times, and so as a way of reminder and also reminding people too, to remember that verse. The Bible is so great that every single thing we're going through, every single thing we see today, it has happened. There's nothing new under the sun, and there's nothing we're not about in the Word of God. And so 2 Timothy 3 verse 1 to 5 talks about the days, right? But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, be lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good. That's where I am. That's why I when I saw that, I'm like, yes. Traitors, headstrong, haughty, and I sincerely think that that's where Nosa was driving at, right? These are the last days. No one would argue that, or no one will be blinded by it and say that no, God is not coming soon, Jesus is not coming soon. Why not? We are in the last days, right? And if 2 Timothy is saying that these are things that we would go through, these are things that we would see, we should know that we should not be ignorant. We should also not be we should not be blind by these things, right?
So when you hear the statement, what God cannot do does not exist, the major argument people bring up is that God cannot steal, God cannot lie, God cannot sin, and in as much as that is true, I wanted to let you know that you're actually saying the same thing, that what God cannot do does not exist. And I will explain. What God cannot do does not exist then. According to the Bible, at least you can classify it into two different classifications, capability and nature. And, the major one that people talk about is in terms of capability, to just encourage people's faith. to let them know that there's no problem you have that God cannot solve. You know, that was what Matthew, Bible was saying in the book of Matthew chapter 19 verse 16 that says, with man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. That is, there's no problem that you would ever have that God will not be able to solve. But the argument people are bringing up that God cannot lie, God cannot sin, what you don't know is the fact that you are talking about God's nature and not his capability. And also in the nature of God, these things you are saying he cannot do, they do not exist in his nature. And let me explain. When you open the Bible to the book of Revelation chapter 4 verse 8, read the easy version so it will be easy for you. You know, it says, God is good, he is completely good. There is no evil found in him. There's no bad thing found in him. When you go to also Psalms 92 verse 15, I believe, NLT, it says the same thing. There is no evil found in God. There's one other Bible verse that also says, God is completely light. There's no darkness found in him. So that's to let you know that evil does not exist in the realm of God. So, and sin, stealing, lies, all these things you say he cannot do are actually evil. So yes, he cannot do them, but they are not even in the conversation because they do not exist in his realm. So when you say what God cannot do does not exist, and you say he cannot lie, okay, yes, God cannot lie. But this lie that he cannot lie does not even exist in his realm because he is good and is completely good. There's no evil found in him, you know. So in terms of nature, in terms of capability, what God cannot do does not exist. So, and when your argument is that he cannot lie, he cannot sin, you are still saying the same thing because they do not exist in his realm. In fact, that's why when the Bible had to talk about lie, Bible said God is not a man that he should lie, because it's even disrespectful to put God and lie in the same statement. So it had to balance it by putting man. The same thing with the capability, you know, the Matthew 19 verse 26. He had to put man to show to talk about impossibility, because there's nothing possible with God. So that's why he said with man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible, you know. So trying to actually argue with that God cannot lie, God cannot steal, is actually even disrespectful, you know, to God, because they are not things that should even come up when you are talking about God, when you really know God, because they are not even in the nature of God. You know, it's like they do not even exist. It doesn't, you know, there is no talk or thought of God that would bring those things in the first place, you know. So, let there be peace in the world, because what God cannot do does not exist, no matter from where you look at it, no matter what the argument is, you know, capacity or capability. You know, and hopefully, you know, this is just for edification, just, you know, to encourage ourselves. All these things are just to encourage ourselves. The whole essence of saying that thing is just so that when you are praying tonight and you are trying to bring something to God, and the devil is trying to let you know that you sure say God will do this thing and everything, you will really know that no, the Bible says what there's nothing impossible with God. So you will be bold. When the Bible says, "Come, let therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, where we will obtain grace and mercy to help us in the time of need." It's for you to be bold, because that's one thing the devil tries to take away from us. You know, implants fears, implants lies, so that you will not be able to carry that thing boldly to God. And that's why, you know, when we sing that song, we don't know what we forfeit, the things we miss, the needless pains we bear, because we do not just carry everything to God in prayer. What God cannot do does not exist. It's just to encourage you to know that there's nothing too small, too big, too hard to carry to God in prayers that he cannot do, you know. So when you're arguing about lies and stealing, first of all, it's not even in the same context. But again, like I said, those do not even exist in him, because he's a good God and there's no evil that can be found in him. So yeah, what God cannot do does not exist. Abego is not directed at anyone. It's just to encourage anybody's faith that is going to be watching this, to be able to help your prayer life further, to be able to boost your faith in God further, you know, to not let you get confused, you know. So I'm not trying to be part of any conversation. I'm not supporting anybody, you know. I'm just the only person I'm supporting is God. Do you understand? Because these are the days when everybody just need to face God by themselves and know God by yourself, so that nobody confuses you, nobody removes you from God's back, and now later you will come realize, say, you know, even they, you know. So yeah, God bless everybody. What God cannot do does not exist. Thank you.
A comment drew my attention when I saw Honest Bond. I even forgot that I was supposed to do that, because I had not seen it. It was on the show yesterday, but it was like later. I'm like, oh yes. So he said we'll talk about it on the show today, and so I had to check. And like, I didn't even know. In all honesty, in all sincerity, God sees my heart. What came to my mind when he said it on the show was Gaze Baba's podcast.
Okay.
I was mixing both.
Claim. Okay.
Is this podcast? Oh wow. Follow the podcast, right? I've never. It was only one time when it was trending, one girl, blah 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 blah. I'm just saying what they do in that space is not even holy, and saying that a man of God, and so that was one of the things that drew my attention. That
no, but there's nothing wrong in a man of God going on that podcast, really.
On that podcast.
Oh yeah. We've had men of God there. I've had Kunle Shorinyo there. We've had Olumide Emmanuel there. We've had a number of pastors there. Yeah. I mean, for that one, I will argue that one with you, but go ahead.
It just gives one, I don't know.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it depends on what you do with the platform. It depends on what you share with the platform. I think I watched a part of Kunle Shorinyo's interview on that same platform, and it was straight up gems. Like, it was heavy, like it was packed. Same with Olumide Emmanuel, like I quoted. So
I think this because of what I have seen them birth out. I've not really seen. See, I don't follow.
All right, yeah, I get that. I get that. The association you have with the podcast is with this is how you do. I do this, I do that, and I paid I have sex for this, for that. You know, all this kind of rubbish talk. I get you.
Don't really follow it back to back, but the things I have seen, I've not seen the good part of the podcast. In all honesty,
I get what you mean.
So when he talked about, and see, there are many things he talked about. It's not just NSPPD, but people are just bringing out that part. I'm also talking about, so for NSPPD, you can tell that despisers of good. I've explained that already, and lovers of self. Right, if you notice, he kept on emphasizing on, I have done this miracle, I have raised the dead. You have. When did it become you have, right? As much as you might say that, oh, maybe it means that God used him to. I think there was a time we talked about it on the show, and I just want to use this opportunity to also talk about it again. The I factor, the I did this, I did that. When it becomes a norm, you can tell that this person is, drawing God's glory to his or herself, right? Because you're not the one performing the miracles. God is doing it through you, right? And so when he kept on emphasizing on, I am older than Jerry Eze by far, I am some unnecessary things. When I saw I am Jerry Eze's son, okay. I'm like, those are red flags. Like red, you see, is there anything thicker than red?
Yeah, but he might just be trying to look at me playing.
I'm not.
Yeah, he's just trying to establish the fact that whatever he's saying is not birthed from maybe inferiority complex. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so to buttress that fact is why he's saying, is why he's giving you some other additional facts. Like, see, this is who I am. So you can.
I honestly, if you want to talk about who you are, well, boast about God in your life, and not just talk about who you are. It's about me, I.
Is in context now. Again, this is another matter of context. Yeah, it's context that made him say what he said the way he said it. Just the same way that context is what is making the old phrase of what God cannot do does not exist. So for me, it's funny because I know that, and I must say this very factually. I know some people might not agree with me. Some people might not, I must say this very factually, that there are quite a number of things that Dr. Abel Damina shares that I agree with. Is Kanyinsola still there, or she's frozen? It looks like she's frozen. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was right. So there are a number of things that, and I really wish you could hear this. There are a number of things that Dr. Abel Damina shares and talks about. I think Kanyinsola is back.
Yeah.
All right. So there are a number of things that Dr. Abel Damina shares that, to be very honest, I agree with. Right. Like this is like straight up the gospel, like very, like 100%. A lot of things that he says that I do agree with. However, there are some things that he also shares that I'm like, oh, okay, I don't quite understand. I think one of the major challenges is the way that he gets to share it. People don't even want to pay attention to what he's saying because of the way he says it and the confrontational manner that it seems to come forth with, right? So now establishing that fact that I do agree with quite a number of things that Abel Damina shares, I must now say that as far as this "what God cannot do does not exist" phrase is concerned, no, this is very, very contextual. And if you are taking this, if you are choosing to make this argument, it is clearly out of context, because when somebody says what God cannot do does not exist, you know what the person is trying to say. You know you look, if we had to like process every line that is said, then there would be no beauty in grammar. You know, why did they teach us figure of speech in school? You know, figures of speech. You know, we know what this person is trying. So for you to now start to drag it out and make a big deal out of it,
I honestly don't want to excuse for it.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. If he said he wants, we're good. Like, okay, and he gets corrected. I'm like, because, you know, no man is an island of knowledge. He could make mistakes, or you could just overthink or something. But, you know, you're emphasizing on the same thing, and you claim that you don't have anything against. What is the issue exactly?
No, I mean, honest, again, you don't even need to agree. I mean, you don't even need to like, you don't need to say, oh yeah, accept that is wrong. But even if you don't, even if you stay, you stand your ground to say, I said what I said, but you like, you know, let it glide. Like I said, that's why I took us back to 2021, 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And then here is 2024. You're like, you know, let this thing, you know, I don't have to agree with you, but then it's, I don't consider it heretic, right? It's not heresy, only if you want to just by force make it sound like that. So it's on that part that on this one, I don't quite agree with Dr. Abel Damina. Again, there are a number of things that he shares that I do agree with. But on this one, no, I don't. For the miracles, that one. Should we talk about that one?
We'll talk about it because since we're talking about I think I already said it already. I just, the short clip I watched, I just went and said, oh, this is what I think, and what best explains this thing is 2 Timothy 3:1-6. To be honest, I don't listen to Abel Damina. I will boldly say it, I don't listen to him. But when controversy happened that way, oh, Praiseworld is posted, or this person's posted, that's when I see him, and I'm like, you know, today by what is it again, right? So I mean,
I'm again, like I must say, there are a number of things he shares that I agree with. I must say that. Yeah, there are certain things I watch him share, and I'm like, oh, now that right there is the gospel, no doubt. But on this one, no. Now let me bring our attention again back to Justified. Says there's nothing I agree with him on, and that's understandable, really. That's on no, but you cannot say there's nothing you don't agree with him on. What if he says Jesus is the Son of God? Would you say you don't agree with that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, let me not say that because I don't listen to him.
Yeah,
it's just when he's bringing in what's like, I'm like, that's when I hear him. I don't hear him like when he says the good things, and that's an issue. That's something that's a very big issue, to be honest. Right? Yeah. We see other ministers of God say things, and I don't think I've ever said that, oh, is every time I say that, oh, this man, this person, this minister. Of course, I see good things about these ministers too, and so there's a balance to it.
Yeah,
I don't think I have.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point, because, you know, we've said this on the show a lot. On the show, I would not lie to you. Well, if you listen to the show long enough, we have criticized a number of things and people. Or you know, because we comment on issues, right? But if you listen long enough, you don't even need to listen long enough. You know that we also go very big on celebrating people, right? Has to be a balance. But there's a challenge if all that you do is criticize. I mean, let there be just at least one time that you celebrate something or celebrate someone, you know. And now let me call your attention to something. Do you remember when we had this movie review on the show for Prophet Suddenly?
Yeah, I do.
Good. So did you watch the movie Prophet Suddenly?
Yeah, I did.
Aha.
One and
One and two. All right. So you probably know what I'm about to talk about. So remember that the prophet, the prophet, the prophet suddenly in, I think it was part two, right?
Yeah.
In part two, yeah, Kofi, he was a false, you know, he used to arrange miracles, like it was the arrangee miracles, right?
Yeah.
And was more like a syndicate where, so it was more like very revelatory, it was very expository into some of the dark things that certain people do in the name of ministry, right? So my question now is, when somebody watches that kind of, because these arguments came up after the movie was out back then, that now that they have put out this movie, what is the whole idea? Are they trying to, you know, give people, expose people, or are they trying, you know, it could make people start to look at things in the wrong manner. Why am I asking that? Because for every time when you see something that is false, or let me use the word fake. When you see a fake, that there is a fake is a proof that the original exists. You would not have fake of something that does not originally exist. So everything that you say is fake means that there is an original. Okay. So if you say they are fake miracles, it is only proof that they are actually real miracles.
Yeah.
So the question now here is,
itself.
Say again?
I said it's just like life itself. The devil always just wants to take the good that God has done and always turn it. Right? So most of the things you see in life, God created man in his image and his likeness. God created woman. The devil wants to do the opposite. He makes both of them. Right? He wants to use what is already existing.
And corrupts it. Yeah.
Yeah, and corrupts it. Yes. So that's right. It has always been from time.
So I mean that's so when people start to criticize and you see miracles happen and you say, oh, if you have not verified as a matter of fact that thing is actually fake, I consider it a bit reckless to just go all out and just declare it so. You get what I mean? Shout out to our friends at the Rap Radio Africa in the building. Saying T-Spice. Yo, what up, fam? Edwin says, wow, I love that. Something fake is proof that another is real. Yes, yes, Edwin. Justified Fred says he's yet to know Jesus for himself, or he should do the work God has called him to do and stop criticizing others. Yes, you have a point right there. I think I get it. But our Christian community, and always at each other's throats. Yusef Siam be Joy Loge. Yusef Siam. Anyway, it is what it is. Apparently, that is what we have found, where we have found ourselves in at this point. As we start to draw closer to the wrap of the show. Yeah, were you saying something, or would you like to add something?
I honestly was trying to think back. I lost my line of thought, right? But
it's okay. She lost the line of thought, and she lost the connection as well. Sorry. Anyway, guys, I think that's how far we can go into this show.